in space. Welcome excellence in every blessing, sacred and praise. What I see.
Hello, hello. Hi, beautiful souls. Hi. Oh, it's so good to be here with you. For me right now, it's Saturday morning, and I can't think of a more fun way to start my weekend, my Saturday, than with you, beautiful souls. Hi to those of you that I know well. I love you. It's so good to be supported by you and to get to be a support for you. And to those of you that are new or newer in my world, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Charlene. If we haven't met, Charlene Jessica Parker is the full name that my mother gave me. I was named after my grandmother on my dad's side, Charlene, who died before I was born. So I carry on that energy, Grandma Charlene. And the truth is that just like most of you, I am definitely a lineage healer and generational trauma breaker and up-leveling and completely elevating the potentiality of my lineage moving forward. Because as I look back, all I see is victim and limitation and trauma. And looking forward, when I think about the future children that I'll bring into this world and the children they'll bring into this world, they are going to have so much fun, because me and my kids are going to have so much fun, because they are going to remember rather than having forgotten so much. You know, they're going to know from a young age how miraculous they are. They're going to learn how to play this game, because there are rules and blueprints. And just unfortunately, most of our parents, maybe not all, if one of you had a conscious parent who you grew up with spiritual philosophy and studying for masters, and I feel like there was a really elevated conversation and consciousness in your family, please share in the chat. I want to celebrate you and celebrate your parents. And there's some of you, like Michael, I see you. I know that maybe you didn't, I'm not sure what your childhood was like, but I know that you're creating that with your mother now, which is so awesome. He was here with his mom for a immersion that I did, and that just brought me so much joy. And a lot of the times I have many of you with your kids on live, and they're in this energy, right? They're in the heart. What a blessing. What a cool thing. I'm such an advocate for the reintegration of familial ecosystems. And if you're like me, that's not so possible with your blood family. And then it becomes more about creating an ecosystem of support through friendships and teachers and mentors and communities of practice, where you still are deeply embedded in a support system. Because the worst thing that we can do for ourselves is feel like we're alone in this life. And, you know, the most core wound and trauma of any of us, of all of us humans, is of separation, is of thinking that we're alone. Because as we are born into form, it feels like in our experiences that we then got separated from the source from which we came, which is not the case. But that is literally the evolutionary journey, is such a key component, because all of our challenges and all of our fears and all of our scarcities and all of our walls and all of our boundaries pretty much all comes from this belief in separation. Because if you believe you're separated, then you believe you can be harmed or attacked or hurt, or that you don't have what you need, or there won't be enough. Like, they all stem from that. So you can identify your more surface level, this is how it manifests, which is good to be aware of. But then keep going to the root, to the actual root. And so while you are never alone, and you've never actually been alone, and you were not forgotten, and you were not left, and you've always been loved by the source of creation, because you are part of creation, so you could never actually be separated from, and you're never actually separated from the earth, you are nature. It's also really, really important to have the physical manifestation of connection and support around us through the form of other angels, aka humans. Because if you are connected to the source, right, if you are part of that, meaning that you are God in that way, made in the image and likeness of God, so is everybody else. And so when you are praying for something, asking for something, wanting support on something, and you think it's just going to come from some voice of God, like that's the only way it comes, but you're not paying attention to who's showing up in front of you and what's showing up in your inbox and in front of you in the store. And we're the answers. What gets put in front of you in the form of another human is the answer to your prayers, either because they're going to show you what your challenge is, like they're going to trigger you or react, and you get to be like, oh, that's what's been blocking me. Or they literally have the opportunity, or they have the hug that you were really wanting, or they have the invitation to a dinner where you're going to meet, whatever it is. Like, I am an answer to your prayers. There's something I've said this week or something I'll say today that if you're really listening, there's a key for something that you've been inquiring about or needing or desiring for your own evolution. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So it's important to pay attention to what shows up and where you feel genuinely a pull, a curiosity, a call. And I just have to start by saying, I feel so good this morning. I'm so happy to be alive. It feels like an amazing Saturday. I can just feel like spring is in the air. Do you feel it? Didn't you feel it? Do you feel the emergence of fresh, and new energy? Like, oh, it's so good to be alive, truly. And one of my main topics for today is about the art of living well. Is about making your life sacred, is about making your life beautiful. It's an element of this reconnection to your wholeness, to your holiness. And it's many of these practices or just outlook on life that I'll share that has made one of the biggest difference in my life, for my fulfillment, for my well-being, for my genuine inspiration. Because life can be kind of dry, can be kind of hard, can be kind of monotonous, can be like challenging, it can be confusing, it can be annoying, it can be all those things. But the things that seem that way, when held within a context of sacredness and of beauty, they don't have that same density, right? Like, I always like to think about bringing the sacred into the mundane, because as human adults, there's going to be lots of mundane things, but can you bring a sacred frequency, a perspective into the mundane such that it no longer feels boring or just like another thing on the to-do list? Okay. So I'm going to start by sharing, and if you're here, please come on video if you can. I love seeing those of you that are on video. Hi, hi, hi. So good to be here with you. I'm going to start by sharing about my morning as a look into a way I live my life. And then I'm going to expand on that to share some ideas and inspirations to potentially support you to expand, to see where you can get into better rhythm with life, where you can make your life more beautiful, where you can bring fulfillment and like just this artfulness of life and intentionality into more of your life. Because something that's really important for your ultimate well-being, true freedom, fulfillment, happiness in this life is intentionality. And intention has many layers. Something I remind my clients of all the time in relationship, or just in relationship to yourself, in relationship to a moment, to a situation, right? It's all relationships, whether it's to another human or to a project or to the moment or to a situation, to a circumstance, to nature. It's all relationship. And so relationally, you always get to ask, what am I intending to create in this moment? Meaning, when you're about to go respond to somebody, before you just respond, what if you took that moment to say, what do I want to create right now? Okay, because there's many different ways you can respond at any moment. And a lot of the times, if you just react out of what seems logical, you won't necessarily create what you really want, but you didn't take that moment to be intentional. Sometimes with my team, my initial response is like, people make mistakes all the time, and I find it so annoying. I have a very high bar of integrity and intentionality and care, and sometimes people do things, and I'm just going to be honest, my first thought might be something like, you're retarded. I'm just being honest. That's the first thought. But if I respond with that energy, you think they're going to want to work with me and get better? No. So my first thought is you're retarded. And the response I might want to say is like, how did you overlook this? Or like, I said to do this. Okay. But what am I creating with that? That would be an unintentional creation. That's likely not going to get me more of what I want. Right. So that intention in as many moments as you can in the day, especially when it involves another human, of asking, rather than responding with what I think is justified or righteous or what I think is true, which brings in another really important piece in relationship to another person, which is that we are in this era where we talk a lot about being authentic and saying what's on your mind and being honest and truthful. But there's a huge part that's not talked about, especially in romantic relationships, but just relationships in general, but especially if you're in a romantic relationship. You don't need to tell the other person all the shit you're thinking, all the stuff that they're doing that you're trying to overcome inside yourself, or all the ways that you are a victim, or all. You don't need to say all that. You need to go work that out on your own and bring your best self forward to the relationship. Very rarely, but sometimes it's appropriate to have these deeper conversations and put on the table what's up, of course. But being honest about what? Are you being honest about your ego and how you're in reaction, how you're triggered, how you're, because being honest is actually bringing your true self forward. That's real honesty. Is saying, I'm not a victim ever. I am the creator. I'm made in the image and likeness of God. I'm a powerful, magnificent, spectacular being, and I'm choosing you to love you, period. Like, that's one version of what's actually true. So when people say share your truth, just be mindful of what truth you're telling. Is it really true? A really good inquiry to be in. Okay. And really discerning when to bring something forward that's anything but empowering, especially as women to men. Stop criticizing your men. They only grow if you plant them in fertile soil and celebrate them for the extraordinary being that they are, and pour love onto them and hold the mirror to them like you see their highest potential and you see them as God, and see them as God and only God. And men, of course, to women too, but women in particular can be very critical. That has them disconnect. It has them resent you. It has them not be able to actually grow, because then they start to feel like a failure. And as soon as a man starts to feel like a failure, they pull out of whatever they're working on, including a relationship. And it's unconscious most of the time. Men want to feel like they're winning. Is that true? Men that are here, like generally? Yeah. You like to feel like, you want to feel like you are being supported in growing into your highest potential, and that you're doing a good job. And as soon as you feel like you're doing a bad job, what happens? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat if you have awareness around this. Collapse or contraction. Yeah, basically the exact opposite of what the woman's thinking she wants to create, like to get you to do more and be more. It literally generates collapse and contraction, the opposite. And historically, you've withdrawn. That's my exact point. Now, of course, men, you get to become more conscious too. And if anyone, a woman or anyone's bringing energy towards you, you get to self-source, of course, and be sovereign. Not talking about this dependency, but there is this kind of like natural thing that happens in a side of ourselves and in relationships that we want to start to track, because women historically generally always want more. And so in a lot of ways, what a man does is never enough. And actually it will never be enough, because they're not God in like ultimate sense. They're not your source. They are one unique emanation of the divine that you have chosen to put in front of you as your mirror to have companionship with, and to love and to celebrate with, and to enjoy life with. And there's no reason you should ever be fighting. If you're fighting all the time, there's no reason to be in relationship, because you're there to enjoy life more together. But if you have all these expectations, then like our men said, they might start to resent you. They'll pull away. They'll collapse. They'll contract. So women always think about, how can I generate more love? How can I create a more loving environment? Just like you would think about if you have kids. How do I create the most nourishing, nurturing environment for my kids to become all that they can become? You want to be that for the men in your life and for your clients and for anyone that's in your garden. As women, you are soil, you have a garden. You want to have that garden be as abundant as possible. So it's your beloved, but it's also your women friends. It's your clients, it's your customers. It's like you are abundant. And then men, you are like receiving from your environment in such a way that you get to rise, and your goal is to keep becoming more and more free and more expressed and fulfilled in your fullest expression, such that you can't help but give back of your abundance because you're in overflow, because you're rising. And of course, that woman or the women who are giving to you are going to receive from that overflow. Yeah, you're welcome, Brittany. Okay, so intentionality. Of course, I could go on a whole other conversation with that, but I'm going to bring it back to where that started, which is around intentionality. So that whole piece came out of being intentional with what you're creating in each moment. You're creating through your energy, you're creating through your thoughts. I'll give another example of this. As we've talked a lot this week, there's different languaging to be used in how we describe and understand the human experience. And if you're in my world a lot, you'll hear that I will say ego and higher self, or ego and God self. But there's different ways to talk about it. And I know for some, and also there's different definitions of ego. And so I know that without having deeper and more time together to really describe and define, like, what's this term? Sometimes you might get it completely, and sometimes you might think like, what ego is she talking about? The one that's like cocky? Like in our society, right, we think of ego as like the cocky version of you, but that's not necessarily how I describe ego. So I'm going to talk about kind of ego in a more simple way, which is just to talk about mental chatter. Okay, we all have mental chatter going on all the time. Yes? Yes. And that mental chatter is what creates your reality. Okay. Now that mental chatter is informed by your spiritual philosophy and your worldview, and it will start to evolve based on what you believe about yourself and life, which is why it's so important to have spiritual study and development and learn worldview and mental models that have you thrive. Now, ultimately, you could say none of it's true with a capital T, but you want to find mental models that actually you feel better when you believe them. You feel more expanded. You feel more free. You feel more peaceful. You feel like you are in more kind and loving awareness every day. That's how you know that they're worth keeping, right? So what I teach, well, I hold it as true. It's just a philosophy, mental model, but you know what? It really works for me and all the people in my communities that I learn this from, teach this to, and my master teachers who I'm basically translating from them. Like, I didn't make this up. I didn't make most of these ideas and models up. I'm blessed to have master teachers, and I'm translating them to you. And I see the freedom and the joy and the peace and the power and the prosperity that comes by way of living into these, right? But they're ultimately just mental models if we were to simplify. So you have this mental chatter, and you have all these mental models, and you have mental models about everything: how you make decisions, what food you eat or don't eat, how you move your body or don't, how you're in relationship, why you date or don't date, or how you date, or who you date, or who you don't date, or you have so many mental models, and some serve you and some do not. Okay, your ideas about yourself and people and things, you could just call them all mental models. Now, let's paint a picture. All right, so you have a really important meeting. Everyone, I don't want you to listen to me. I want you to put yourself in this situation. All right. You have a really important meeting that you're driving to. It's an in-person meeting, and it really matters. High stakes meeting, huge potential. And you're running late. Okay. And then you hit a major traffic jam. Unexpected major traffic jam on the road. You're already late to a meeting you really want to be on time for. Just notice, what are you feeling right now? When you're there and you're in the car, I mean, and you're responsible for already making yourself kind of late. And now there's an unexpected thing. What's happening in your system? Just notice, even say it out loud, like feel it, be there. Okay. Now some person comes out of nowhere, cuts in front of you and a bunch of people, causes an accident, and stops traffic even more. How are you feeling? This person that just did this asshole thing, and they are going to be responsible for you being even more late because of the way they just cut somebody off and then caused an accident right in front of you. How are you feeling? What do you feel about that person? What are you thinking about that person? Be honest. You want to kill them? Are you like, what's going on? Honest. Put it in the chat. Everyone put it in the chat. Yeah, dumb asshole, enraged. What's this? Honest, like that first response to this person who just cut you and someone else off, caused an accident, and now you're going to be even more late because of them. Idiot, asshole, righteous. Yeah, okay. All right. So we're basically all assuming that this person is an asshole, an idiot, righteous, dumb asshole. Okay, that's the initial assumption. Now, what if you were to find out that that person just got a call from the hospital that their only child was in a major accident and they didn't know if they were going to make it for another hour or if they were going to live, and he was trying as fast as he could to get to the hospital to see their child before they might die? Just feel like you got that information about this person. Does your thought about them change? Does your feeling about the fact that they just cut somebody off like a maniac, does it change? And do you notice, does anything in your body change? Put it in the chat. And maybe it didn't change for you, but if it did, just say, now what are you thinking? I see Dawn, now I'm an asshole now. And you're laughing a little bit. Yeah, a little more expansive. You soften. Now you feel empathy. You laugh at yourself. Yeah, because now you're a little bit more, you have a little more grace. You're like, I would be driving like a crazy person too. Now you might even feel bad for them that they got in the accident because they're like trying to get to their kid in the hospital. And you like, maybe, now your meeting also seems not nearly as important. Still important for you, but all of a sudden there's a lot of perspective, right? Right? Yeah, laugh at yourself. That's exactly what I do when I have a thought that is inherently limiting and judgmental and lacking of loving awareness and kindness. And the thing is that we never know. You're never going to know. You're not going to really know why that person cut somebody off. Like, you're not going to stop and really find out. You're not going to chase them down if they, and we rarely know. And maybe they were just a crazy asshole or an inconsiderate person. But does it really matter? Because now you're the one who's stressed out and thinking shitty thoughts, right? Doesn't get on that person, whether they're trying to get to the hospital or they're just trying to get to work. Perspective shifts and being agile seems to be the best responsibility I can have. Yeah. Yeah. And to just notice what you make up about everything. And if it doesn't make you feel good and it makes somebody else bad or wrong, I think, yes, perspective is everything. It's just worth noticing and being more intentional. Okay. And you have mental models and you have ways that you react and tell stories about everything constantly. So I'm inviting you to become more aware and then more intentional about them, right? And when you notice that you have road rage and you want to kill somebody, just notice, laugh at yourself, if you are late for the meeting, like, what can you say to yourself to just make peace with it? And sometimes that's a creative act. Like in this very practical case, maybe you haven't let them know that you were going to be late. Like you were like really hoping you would just slide in and be on time. And like you can send someone an audio message or whatever is appropriate for the context and be like, I'm so excited for the meeting. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you so much for your grace. I'm going to be a few minutes late and I'll see you soon. Different than, I'm so sorry. There's so much traffic. I can't believe it. Like, ask for support rather than for forgiveness in contexts like that. Just a little life hack too. Acknowledgement and celebration energy and thanking them for their patience, and is very different than I'm so sorry, I'm going to be late. Sorry has its place, but I love to say like, thank you for your grace. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. Different energy, right? Just a little life hack if you are late. I really do my best to not be late, and life happens. I love this question. Yeah, Donnie, we've been working on this. How would love respond? What am I creating with my thoughts here? Create questions to ask. So a life well lived, a beautiful life, has a lot of intentionality. And I'm going to expand that out now beyond the intention of my thoughts, my energy, my stories, my narrative, my response, and tell you about my morning. And in that, I'll share a ritual that I do. Well, two, actually. Well, I guess there's several that I've already done today. So once a week, almost always, I choose a morning where I can spend at least 3 hours with myself in like meditative, creative ritual space. And it is my time to just be with my thoughts, be with myself, allow enough space to hear something new, to get clarity on decisions I'm in. Because if you are living a big life, if you are a creator, if you are a leader, if you like dynamic, full spectrum living, you have constant decisions to make. And sometimes a lot of them are either or. Do I stay home and keep focusing, or do I go on that trip? Do I do this? Like, it's a lot of, right? You can't say yes to everything. I mean, if you're like me, there's no end of possibility of how you could spend your time. What a blessing. But that means I have a lot of decisions to make. Because sometimes it's really clear. And a lot of times it's like, okay, I got this invitation. I have this, and there's opportunity. And doesn't usually make sense to say yes to everything that shows up in your life. So there's a lot of decisions to make. And also, if you're up to a lot, your mind can easily start to get full and busy. Like if you're amidst big projects and leading teams and there's a lot going on and life is just full, there's a fullness that happens. Lots of mental chatter. Even if it's not negative mental chatter, still it could just be like a lot's happening. Like this week, as an example from your soul keys, I didn't have negative chatter going on. I mean, I had my moments here and there of some resistance, but I had a lot of mental chatter because there was a lot going on. That type of chatter of like tending to lots of moving pieces and leading a team and having guests and having participants and multiple streams and multiple emails, right? So it's like there's a fullness to that. And I'm aware that there's a lot of decisions in my life that I wanted to make this week, but I was so full that I couldn't really see a lot beyond this. Like it wasn't, even though I knew there were some lingering things I wanted to tune into and decide around, my energy was so focused here that on my week, as an example, for those of you who get amidst big projects or like a big week of some sort, it was appropriate for my energy to be fully here. Any of my meditative creative energy was around tuning into this. What did I want to say? What wanted, like, where did, it was all around this. Or it was about decompressing, coming into a state of peace and presence. And it wasn't about anything. It was about beingness and restoration and vitality, right? And so, sometimes in my life, each morning I'll be tuning into like what's best and decisions, and I'll be doing that every morning. But regardless of what's going on, I usually spend at least one day a week with at least 3 hours where I sit with myself. with the intention of really connecting, listening, digesting, discerning, reflecting, harvesting learnings, because you want to always be in refinement. But you cannot refine unless you take time to really listen and inquire and look and sense. And I do that for every part of my life. I feel in my body, like, did it feel good what I was eating this week? What didn't feel good? I notice I track my energy. I'll start to, if I felt really bloated this week, I'll take time and I'll listen and I'll be like, what? I'll go deeper. I'm like, what's causing the bloating? Like, what do I need more of? What do I need less of? I do this with every part of my life. Do I like how I structured this event? How is my energy? Where did resistance come up? Where did it feel really natural? What would I do differently next time? But I'm not just doing it from this major strategy perspective. Of course, there's going to be the sessions with your team where you're looking at stats and data and finances, and that's a little bit different. That's still harvesting learnings and refining, of course, refining the structures. But I'm talking about how did it feel for me? What worked, what didn't work for me? Where was it my mind that was making it hard or taking me out versus where was it the way that I was doing it not the most aligned? Michael, one of the questions you sent an email, which I'm not going to get fully into right now, but is around this, this inquiry of surrender versus intentional creation and having goals and vision versus allowing for life to flow through me and being more emergent and how do you be in that dance. And one thing is that in this morning practice, I'm always looking back at this last week or a longer period to see where, because sometimes it's easier to see in hindsight, where was I forcing? You'll know if what you were doing was actually wanted, oftentimes based on how it felt or how it feels at the end. Okay, because our ego can be like, I'm meant to do this, I got to do this. And then you're in it and you're doing it. And so I always reflect back and be like, you can usually tell the difference after you look back to see, I was forcing that, I was pushing that uphill, I was making that, I thought we needed that out of my own fear of not having enough or scarcity, or because that's what my business coach said, but it actually didn't feel aligned, or I basically just said I needed to do that because I should do that because of fill in the blank. And sometimes you can't see it while you're in it, but if you take this time and empty out and you're journaling and you're in meditation, I can look back, and in the looking back, it refines and supports me to be able to be clear as I move forward for the proper listening to what's leading the way. Where's my why at? And that's this process of refinement. But if you don't take the time to be with yourself and listen and look and ask good questions, you'll just keep doing it the same way over and over again. Because it's different to ask the question in your passing thoughts during the day, much different than when you're actually I don't ask myself meaningful questions while I'm just in the day, because I won't get meaningful responses because I'm in a beta brainwave state, moving fast. It's I let myself and my nervous system get into a very spacious place, and then I inquire if I have questions that are up. So this can look many ways, but I want to emphasize a few things. One is that you have enough time. For me, it's always at least 3 hours. And you know what? Usually I want more time. It starts to feel so good to be genuinely connecting and going deeper and following pathways of thought and inquiry that you've been kind of only surface level inquiring around. As an example, I've been feeling this call to get a master's degree and a PhD. And it's been in a lot of my passing thought and day-to-day thought of, but today I sat and I asked, well, why do I want a master's? And I wrote and I went deeper and I asked myself questions that arose from that. I asked myself questions so that I could get beyond the surface level with myself. Right? Similarly, I was just a personal life example. I was planning to go spend a month in Mexico, and with this beautiful home with 2 saunas and a cold plunge and a chef that makes breakfast every morning and a maid, and like basically really high quality of living for the month. But I've been feeling resistance around it, as in like, it sounds really awesome, but like, but why? But what's my why? And so I've been feeling this, like, do I really want to go for these last days? But today I really sat in and I looked at it and I was like, asked myself, well, why would I go? And I was like, well, why would I not go? What are my other priorities? Is the sauna and the cold plunge and all that what I really want, is what I really want deeper connection with people I already consider friends, and actually going to where they are, and that will be more nourishing than having a sauna and a maid at home. Right. So I'm like asking myself. And so journaling is so powerful for this. And I want to give you permission to have your train of thoughts just end and you go on a completely another tangent. When I'm doing this with myself, I'm not being precise. I'm not trying. Sometimes I'm trying to get to a particular outcome, like a particular decision. But I'm allowing for how my energy naturally moves. So for me this morning, I was following a train of thought, which led to another, and I'm just journaling whatever naturally emerges. I like went into probably 12 different areas of my psyche and of my life this morning. And even though I didn't make decisions on a lot of them, the ones that feel they require decisions, I feel an energy of clarity. Like I created the space so that when it comes time to make a decision about my master's program, or it comes time to decide whether I'm actually going to go to Mexico or not, there's like spaciousness in my system because I know who I am and I'm connected. And now if I go back to meditation tomorrow and I want to discern a particular thing, it's like I already went into the depths and I'll be able to access more certainty. And so what this looks like, and again, it can look different ways. Journal, I find, is really important. I know we all learn and connect in different ways, but there's something about not just thinking, but having kind of this conversation with yourself and like getting it out. And I don't even reread it hardly ever. It's not about it. The act of writing, that process, that analog, remember your hands are an extension of your heart. And so what I do is I pick up my journal and I go back and forth between meditation, the writing, I'll do some movement, and I do a couple things to not lose my connection, because 3 hours, you have this natural ebb and flow where if you were not being intentional, you could easily pull yourself out and all of a sudden get caught up in something else. Just know that there's a natural ebb and flow of, let's call it presence, in a meditative state in a longer period of time. So I do a few things to support me to stay in like sacred ritual time. One is I set the context. I'm aware of how much time I have until I have to do something. And I'm like, I'm in ritual space, first and foremost. And then I'll have different tools that will help. For me, a main one that I work with is tea ceremony, but that's very different than just having a cup of tea. And so unless you feel called to study the practice of bowl tea or of, that's a particular calling. But what I like about tea is that it gives me something to do. So if my mind starts getting full of thoughts or anything, I pour myself a bowl of tea and I like return and I go back to emptiness. But some other tools that you can have or work with to support that is I'll have sage or Palo Santo or an incense. And if I notice, I pull out to bring me back in, as to recognize that this is a sacred ritual time. And it's very casual. When I say ritual, I'm in like casual, just being with myself space, but with a context of sacredness. I'm not doing like all these specific things for the specific ritual. It's like, no, I'm just letting myself really be. And so I'll pull out the sage and I'll bless myself. Or I'll light the candle with a prayer and I'll call in my higher self with the candle, and I'll even maybe meditate on it. I might do several different types of meditations throughout that process, or breath works. If I notice I start to come up against some resistance because something came up, well, one, I'll inquire deeper, but I might put on a nice song and I'll move a little bit before I return to sitting. The idea, though, is that you move with yourself and your own energy such that it feels pleasurable. And you are in this allowing space, listening. And this is when I'll often call in my higher self or do a higher self meditation. And if I do have decisions to make, I'll ask for guidance. And then I use my pendulum to affirm whether it's for my higher purpose when I'm in a decision-making space. Today, I sat for 3 hours and I did not want to put any pressure of an outcome on today's practice. But you have to listen for what's wanted. Sometimes you feel this, it's like today's the day to make a decision on X, Y, and or Z. And you just feel like, okay, I'm going to tune in, I'm going to connect, and I'm going to know, I'm going to choose. Today, because honestly, part of it is because I've been in so much of a decision-making strategy kind of mode in this particular phase it felt important to not feel the need to make any decisions, but just simply to connect and get into my inner world. And it's so joyful when you really just let yourself be there. And for me, I'm on my sheepskin, and I've got my tea, and I've got my journal, which I love my journal. I'm a moleskin type fan of journal. I love the soft paper. I love how I like to find pen. And okay, so now I'll expand on this. And if you have questions about this ritual time, I'm happy to answer questions or return to it. But I'm going to kind of build on this sacred living. And, I'm intentional about the type of journal I have and the type of pen I have. I want it to feel good when I write. Otherwise, I won't. I hate fine tip, hard. I like soft. I want it to feel soft. But we all have our own preference. But notice, what do you like? What feels good? What inspires you to want to write? So I'm really intentional about my journal and my pens. And if I find a pen I like, I order more. And they're not always fancy. It's just a type of tip, right? Yeah, nice. See, everyone knows what's their jam. And I don't just have any incense. I find incense that are natural, that are pure resins, that don't have chemicals in them. My candles are all natural waxes without chemicals. Things like that. It's I'm intentional. Or even if I have a simple tea light, even the tea lights I order are pure. So that I'm not burning chemicals in my space. My meditation space is a sheepskin, a real sheepskin, because it feels so comfortable and soft. I love the pillow that I sit on. My tea setup is on an altar. I always have fresh flower on it. Even if that means going outside and getting some greenery because I didn't make it to get flowers, but I have life. I always have fresh flowers in my house. Always. And I encourage you to as well, because when you have beauty in your space, you want to treat your life like it's an expression of your thankfulness for being alive, and that your home is your temple, and that your body is your temple. Your body is a temple where God resides. Your home is your temple where God resides. And the more that you treat it like that, the more you'll be delighted, and the more you'll be inspired to create and to make art and to love. Yeah, I love sandalwood, Yako. So I always have flowers in my house. Even when I'm traveling, if I'm somewhere for at least a week, I go and get flowers. Sometimes that's even collecting some from the neighborhood, if it's, that type of neighborhood. Right? Some good incense. That's one thing I'll have in my morning ritual as a way to kind of return me to center. Because it's natural for your mind to wander a little bit. One thing I'll say about those creative ritual times is I always put on sweet music without words personally, because I want to be able to hear myself. So even though there's beautiful tempo-like music, beautiful songs, for that, it's more like sound healing type music. It's melodic. It's peaceful. It's not like abruptive energy, and it doesn't have words for me because my intention is to listen. And sometimes I go into those creative rituals with specific intentions. Like I want to channel in this offer, this idea, this message. I want to make a decision on this. But I'm still taking the time. I'm not going into like force it. It's like, that's what this context is about. Sometimes it's more general. Today was just very general for me. And I encourage you to do that sometimes too. So you're not always trying to do something for something, you're actually allowing. But it's a mix for me. Okay, always have flowers in the house. Also, I go to the farmer's market every week. I know some of you don't have a farmer's market in your winters, depending on where you are, but there's still a local farmer, a local somebody. Farmer's markets, who here goes to farmer's markets regularly? Yeah, Michael, anyone else? You're a local farmer, awesome. Suzanne, okay, a handful of you. So some of you know, and some of you take the easy path and you still go buy organic food, perhaps at Whole Foods or whatever it is. And thank God for that, for those options. I used to go to a grocery store too to get things. And this kind of builds on, if any of you were there for Mia's conversation about our connection to the earth. When I'm at the farmer's market and leaving the farmer's market, I feel so rich. I feel so bountiful, so abundant. I feel rich. Literally, like I feel more rich at the farmer's market than I do when somebody sends me $30,000. Opulent. Yeah. It's just this, it's like such a natural, abundant frequency. When I was carrying out these flowers behind me, I couldn't have been more happy. I had my 2 big bags of food and flowers. You know, I have fresh juices. I have fresh made local goat cheese. I have all the greens. You know, I have some things that people made so that I don't have to cook all my food this week, but it was made with love. Like I literally, I feel rich. And it's because of multiple things. It's because I'm taking care of myself. It's an act of love. It's because I'm connected to the local ecosystem, to the earth, supporting people that I want to support, meeting people. And the more I go, the more we get to know each other, and there's connection, right? And it's so nice and it's so fun to see what do they have this week, but also the things that you hope they consistently have and you look forward to each week. And you're like, I gotta get lately for me, it's been this amazing gluten-free sourdough bread with this cashew cheese sauce that they make that is like so good. I can't even tell you how good it is. I put fresh tomatoes from the farmer's market on it, and sometimes some other things, and sometimes just the cheese and the tomatoes and salt and pepper. And I'm like so happy. And I met those people, and I meet the kids a lot of the time who's part of that. And when I go to the market, I put all my windows down and I open my sunroof and I put on music, and it's this ritual that I do. And it's simple, right? But it's an act of self-love. It connects me to abundance. It connects me to place. And it's a nice rhythm, because humans traditionally had a lot of rhythm associated with seasons and how they ate and how they lived. And the farmer's market's a nice way to connect to seasonality, because you go to the grocery store and you have pretty much the same things all year. And most of that stuff, even if it's organic, is completely devoid of any life force. Let's just say it out how it is. And that we could have a whole conversation on that, because our food system is depressing. And wherever you are, whether you're lucky and it's 10 minutes away or it's an hour, I want to say that it's worth it to go to your local farmer's market. And if it's a whole hour, Have fun on that hour. Bring a cooler with you for your stuff on the way back and just make it a thing you do each week. And although I think farmers markets are amazing and worth everyone's time, the point isn't as much about farmers market. The point is around intentional living and bringing beauty and consciousness into your life and doing things that have you feel connected to yourself and to life. When I go to the farmers market, I feel connected to life. I literally get so happy seeing all the greens. Oh my God, I must have been a rabbit in a past life, because I'm like, sometimes I end up with so many greens. I'm like, I am cooking for one human. Like, what am I going to do with one of each type of green that exists on the planet and all these different sprouts? So anyone else? I have a cat in me who likes to cuddle in the sun, so just sunbathe all day. And I like, yeah, you've been to my dinner parties. Yeah. All of the products that I put on my body and in my household are all natural. I don't buy anything without reading the ingredients. Your shampoo, your conditioner, your face wash, your face oil, your lotion, your whatever you use in your bathroom, whatever you use to clean, thing you brush your teeth with. You know, sometimes maybe you use organic or natural laundry detergent, but your soap is still some shit. Bring consciousness there. Your pores are your biggest organ. It's absorbing everything. It has a frequency. And sometimes you've been using the same thing for 20 years and you haven't even thought about it. And if you're consciously deciding to make not obsession, an exception on like one product, you're like, you know what, everything's natural, but I'm going to use this one thing to regrow my hair, to, you know, like most of my makeup's natural. I have a few things that are not, and I use them sometimes. And I'm aware of it. I'm like, you know what, so be it. And I'm aware of it. Are you making aware choices? Now I'm bringing it down to the things in your environment. All week we've been talking a little bit more high level of like, are you aware of what you're choosing with your thoughts, with your actions, with your energy? Are you moving in a way in life that has you expand and has you become more of who you really are and brings you more joy and creates fulfillment in your life and creates intimacy and connection and lifts other people up around you? Like, you know, that's a level of intentionality and care too. And it feels important to bring it into this conversation around just the environment that we set for ourselves and the little choices we're always making. You know, and you can bring more consciousness into like my water. When I go, another just small example, and I'm just sharing these to hopefully jog some ideas for you. It's not about doing everything I do or doing it the way I do. But what I want to get on you is like how much I care and how much that brings me energy and joy to take that little extra time or money to care. Like, I'll give you another example. My water that I bring to my training when I go run, swim, or bike. Most triathletes use these crazy sugar powder things. And I get that there's a place for the sugar in endurance training, and I'm still working that out from a sports science perspective, because they pretty much all agree, like, put a bunch of sugar in your, but I have avoided refined sugar and maltodextrin and everything for many, many years. So it's very confusing to be like, now I'm supposed to like be drinking this and eating gels with all this. Like, I'm still working that out. So, but I don't just bring water. You know, this water bottle is half fresh coconut water, half filtered water with some algae and some Chinese ginseng and some raw honey, a little bit, and electrolytes that have no weird stuff in them, that are actually just salts. And I say that because I could just bring water, but I'm like, what would have me feel the best? What would help me recover the best? And so I did, you know, I did research, and I found the best quality electrolytes I could find that don't have any weird shit in them. I didn't just buy what I saw. I found the best. And I tried different concoctions. You know, like, I'm willing to find in everything in my life, how I structure my business, how I invest my money, who's in my life, what I put in my water, what I put in my body, when and how I work out. Like I'm always listening for fine tuning and up leveling. Yeah, trace minerals is awesome. Actually, I am going to show you these couple of products because I think they're great. And maybe some of you, give me one sec. Maybe some of you will be happy about them. I didn't plan to go down this route, but who knows? Sometimes it's nice to find out about new products. Dragon Herbs is an awesome company that has all kinds of superfoods, mostly with an Asian origin. You know, so a lot of these are herbs that warriors have been using for thousands of years. This is your I don't even know how to say it. Eleutherio. It's a ginseng. It's a type of ginseng. And so this is what I'm putting in my water. This ginseng, and then Oceans Alive phytoplankton. This is an algae. I highly recommend it. You can get it on Amazon. It's called Oceans Alive raw phytoplankton. They did research on this for astronauts. They are bringing this into space to support them to have minerals and protein. Okay. Ocean minerals is basically an ocean mineral concentrate with an algae and a phytoplankton. And this was recommended to me by a super nutrition nerd, like a super Jedi nutrition nerd. And yeah, I'm a fan of this. So the Dragon Herbs, you could go on that website. I have all kinds of fun things from them. They also have a great greens powder. And I also have like Schizandra berry from them and hawthorn berry. This is the electrolytes I have different types of electrolytes, a lot of liquid ones, like I have trace minerals and whatnot. This is the one I'm using for working out when I'm really going to be sweating and I need salts because it's hot. It's called Element, LMNT. I discovered these from Tim Ferriss. Actually, I think it was like an ad on the Tim Ferriss show, who's a friend of mine. And I know he's quite the researcher. And so I was curious, and I think they're delicious. This one's the raspberry salt and the grapefruit salt. And Element doesn't break a fast either. Right. Because there's no sugar. It's just salts. And our bodies need salts. Our bodies need good salts. I take magnesium every night. So you want me to put this? Okay. So yeah. So you see Elements. That's the electrolyte. And then Oceans Alive phytoplankton. And Dragon Herbs. You'll rethrow. I don't know. I realize I've never said that out loud before. I've been taking it on and off for years and I don't actually know how to say it. So there you go, Margaret. So, but again, I want to come back to the point, especially like with water. If you can get living spring water delivered to you, do it. Or you can go harvest it yourself, even better, and have a ritual. Michael's got fresh living spring water, and have a ritual around it. Like I know our friend Ginny in Boulder, Michael, she always collects water. There's a beautiful spring not too far to Boulder. Or have a really great filter. Like take care of your water, because most of our water systems are not great. So here, one of the reasons why I have all these things in my water, and sometimes it's just lemon, and sometimes I have other things I'll put in water too. But here's the thing. One, I'm working out a lot, and so I'm wanting to support my body, but also my water here in Puerto Rico is really bad. The water here is not clean. And it's because there's illegal dumps, and basically the trash and the shit is going into the groundwater. And so I don't own my home here. I'm more temporary. So I have a Berkey, which is questionable of how good it actually is. In fact, if you've been a Berkey water filtration fan, there's a whole question around how good it is right now, because they don't submit their water samples or to third-party testers, and they've all done it all in-house. And so basically say how great their water filtration is, but they will not submit it to third party for testing. And so it's just another example of, we never really know truly like what someone says or whether, but you want to pay attention to how you feel. You want to tune in. Am I feeling, in this case, hydrated? Am I feeling like the nutrition I'm bringing to my workouts that I'm eating before is working? Like in your meditations, and at the end of each day, be in relationship to the choices that you made and start to discern. Like for me, the water and from the Berkey, just drinking the water by itself, I didn't even really want to drink it. It's not that it's going to make me sick bad. It just felt devoid of light. It just didn't feel hydrating. So I was like, okay, I got to like do some things in this water. I drink more pure coconut water. It feels way better than just the water here. So I'm listening. If I just took what Berkey said, I would think that this water is great and that's all I need. But it's not actually enough for my vitality. Everyone take a deep breath. Close your eyes. And take 5 really deep, nourishing breaths. You have some water, maybe have a sip. And bless it. Say thank you. No matter where it came from, it is still blessed if you say so. Even though I'm aware of the water quality, I'm very thankful that there is water that comes out of my sink that I can drink. So there's a lot more I could say about intentionality and creating a beautiful life, a sacred life. I mean, there's so many ways that there's multiple ways it came up this week, right? We talked about being intentional with the moon cycles, doing something with the equinoxes and solstices, like many of us did for the equinox. I do a cleanse or detox quarterly. Sometimes I do a fast once a week. I do sweat lodges regularly. I go on retreat regularly. Like there's a lot of things I'm doing intentionally to to support my rhythm and to expand my capacity to do more, to be more, to enjoy more. So I'm always thinking like, what's going to expand my capacity? Bye, Benedict. Have a beautiful day. And what I think would be really beautiful is if there's anyone who would feel to share, we can take a few people. One way that you practice intentionality and care in your life, right? I just gave all these very specific little things. Is there something that you do that you feel by doing it brings you energy, brings you joy, has you feel like you're in a good rhythm, feels like you're bringing consciousness into your life? And hopefully there's many. Like I could go on and on. Like, another is that I make a special oil where I put my prayers on it. I do a ritual with it, and then I use that on my body. And so every time I put this oil on my body, I'm putting my prayers. I'm like reconnecting to my prayers. Would anyone like to share?
Hi.
Hi, Margaret. Come
Hey.
on up.
Well, I like dancing, but every now and then I feel it's nice to just stop and just get a check of where I'm at and sort of be grounded, if you know what I mean, and just connect to things. So I would say things like I connect to my womb space, to the Holy Spirit, and I think my animal gifts are the deer and the horse, and then I connect to my authentic self and I connect to my soul. And so every now and then I just sit and just take that in, because you can just keep going once you're up. I mean, some days I get really good where I just sit with God and I just peaceful. But like I said, I like dancing. I like going for walks and just sitting in the park and just listening to the birds or whatever. My sister died last year, so still missing her. But thankful that I'm alive and I get to see what God's got for me, for the new things that He's got for me, like with my business, my new home, husband, and other things to come.
Yeah, so many
Yeah.
good things coming, so many good blessings coming, and that's such a beautiful way to be in life. It's like, what good is coming? To know
Yeah.
like good is coming, to be in that good is coming, and what good do you have in store for me? How much good do you have in store for me? And
Yeah,
I
and
do
God
all of
speaks to me
those.
through songs, so I write lots of
Mm,
songs. I've got about 3 boxes of songs, and I feel like He speaks to me through that sort of thing. Yeah.
that's so
So
beautiful,
yeah.
and that's something. So listening comes in many ways, and God will speak to us in many ways. We have to pay attention, because it's not just I sit and I hear download. Some of you might hear, some of you a song or a poem might come through. Some of you might wake up with a song on your mind, like that's in your head, and you want to look, what am I
Yeah,
singing?
my
What is
flatmate says that I sing in my sleep, but I can't be sure if that's true or not.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Margaret. It's really great to have you
Okay.
here. And I do all of those rituals. I walk every day. Sometimes it's a short walk, but I go out and I walk every day. I dance pretty much every day. In fact, when I'm not dancing, because there was a period recently where I wasn't dancing regularly, and I felt like I wasn't nearly as passionate and in my pleasure, and I felt more in my masculine, and I felt more stagnant. I'm like, what's missing? I'm like, I haven't been dancing. Because here where I live, there's no five rhythms, there's no ecstatic dance, there's no great music. Like there's not like the social communal dancing that I've done in a lot of cities I've lived in. Like when I'm in Ibiza, there's something all the time. In LA, there's some, San Francisco, there's always places to go dance intentionally, or just a great dance floor, and that isn't here. So I realized like, oh, I just need to dance by myself more often. And I started doing that again. And I was like, and it's amazing. It just moves energy, and walking, you guys, is one of the best things that you could do for your physicality too, for your physical well-being. We are made to walk. Humans are designed to walk. We're meant to be walking a lot. Like we're born to walk. We're not born to sit. Sitting is one of the diseases of this era. Walk, 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 walk. And to what, Margaret said that.
Yeah, I've started walking more, but I want to get my strength up in my legs, so for walking, because I find when I'm walking, it's almost like you're getting a push to go a bit further. You can feel it in your stomach as you're walking, and I want to get back to that sort of fire or excitement, or whatever you want to call it. Like where you're walking and you're not even worried about how long it is, or whether your legs hurting or this is hurting. You just do it without even thinking. That's what I want to get back to.
That's beautiful. So be it. So be it. Then just walk, and it's good for so many things. That chatter we talked about, walking is so great to just clear the mind. And I encourage you to do walks where you are consciously present to the sacredness of life, to the beauty of life. Look outside of yourself, get outside of your little world and look around and take it in delight and appreciation, and be willing, just like Margaret said, to sit under a tree and do nothing and have your back to the tree and connect to the tree and listen to the birds. It's so important to just connect. And the thing is that for those of you who are up to a lot, creating a lot, your time of focus will be so much more effective when you take these walk breaks in your day, when you meditate in your day. And I just love that you brought this forward, Margaret, and I think it came up earlier this week, is throughout your day to connect. So yes, I did a longer 3-hour session this morning. I love when I get to do that, to just be with myself, enjoy my inner world. And it's so rich, and it is for all of you, because we are dynamic.
Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm talking a lot, but can I just say that it's also important for children. You get children who just feel they need to be up all the time. It doesn't hurt to have them to just sit for a little bit and use their imagination, like if you were a superhero, what kind of superhero would you be? just because with the society living where we're constantly going, that doesn't start from when you're 18, 19. That starts from when you're 7 or 8 onwards. You know, there's nothing wrong with sitting and being quiet for a little while. You know, just have the children
Yes.
maybe laying around pretending to be stars or something, just sitting for a little bit. This activity, like they've got ballet, they've got this, they've got, you don't need to do all of that. You
Uh-huh.
know, there's nothing wrong with just
Yes.
sitting for a minute.
Just be, and I love that. Give them an inquiry. Thank you so much, Margaret, around who do they want to be and what do they want to imagine. And the thing is that for adults,
Yeah.
too, like who would you be if you were the heroine or the hero of your own story is a question I love to ask myself. Right. When
Yeah,
you
it's like the
think this
imagination seems to have gone. You know, we just seem to buy into the television or whatever it is that tells us what we should or shouldn't be thinking all the time.
imagination is one of the greatest gifts and superpowers of being human. And in fact, we
Yeah,
have to learn how to recultivate it and bring it alive, because we cannot create a new world for ourselves, a new reality, unless we can actually imagine a new one. And our
yeah,
imagining is often so limited, likely because a lot of our, the parents and teachers around us they told
yeah,
us our imagination, that it was not real and this, but I love
yeah.
this, like cultivate, this imagination for kids, but also to recultivate it for ourselves. And so
Mm.
one thing, Dawn asked what questions, line of inquiry. Thank you so much, Margaret. What questions, line of inquiry, can you give yourself in the mornings? And before we wrap, I'll give you several, but one thing I ask myself sometimes is just like how I'll write on or imagine, like, how good can it be? One of my line of inquiries this morning was recognizing all of the different things that I want to be able to have at one time. And I was like, I have this, and I want to have this, and I was capitalizing, and I was like really in this process of like, and, because there's still some places in my life where it feels sometimes like either or, like I have this or I have this, based on past results and based on present reality. But I was like, but I don't want to have to choose behind. The reason I'm only feeling like I have to choose between it is the limit of my own imagination. So I was imagining into what it would be like to have this and this and this and this and this and this. And I was like, yes, that's total, like, and it wasn't so far-fetched. It was like, that is what I'm here for, because God wouldn't have placed this genuine desire in my heart if it wasn't possible. But that possibility is a function of imagination and faith, of course, and connection, and making sure that what you think you want is not of your ego, and it's actually a genuine, like, yeah, like that's what I'm here for. That's the life. That's how God wants to experience existence through me in this lifetime. And the only reason it feels like this or that is because of the own limit of my imagination. So that's one thing I was in, Dawn, one curiosity and question I was in. But just to underline what you were saying again, Margaret, is the connecting throughout the day. Especially if your mind starts to get busy, or you start to feel stressed, or you start to feel tired, or you start to feel like, what am I doing with myself? Or right, where the energy move, you get out of that flow, right? We might have these flow moments in the day, and then maybe you've been on your computer for hours, and then you don't have that feeling. The power to breathe or to dance or just connect. Like, where am I? Is my ego leading right now? Is my higher self here? Like, am I connected to God? Like, where's my mind? What's the quality of my mind? What's the quality of my attitude right now? Where's my thoughts? And you bring it back over and over again, returning over and over again. This is the life practice. This is being intentional. Return over and over again, as many times as you need to throughout the day. You're so welcome, Michael. Would anyone else like to share a way that they are intentional and practice care and consciousness and sacredness in their lives that is something different than what's been shared from Margaret or I? Michael, yes, please. You're looking shiny and bright in the sunshine this morning, my love.
Oh, so there was a nice dusting. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and there was a little snow dust, and it's literally swirling around. So I want to invite something that isn't a practice. Well, it is practice, but it's not consistent, because it's just being curious and just finding something unique about the morning that isn't there normally. And literally, I chose to come outside because I saw the snow dancing in the sun, and I was like, why would I not be there? And so I really love your connection to that pull And so it's like, what am I being pulled forward, like towards, versus a push away? So I think there's two parts of that. There's just being curious, and then what am I being pulled towards versus sometimes I think we are like, oh, I don't want that anymore. That's great. That's an awareness, but that doesn't really pull. So yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a really powerful distinguisher, because while there's time to reflect on what we don't want or what we want to change, what's an even more generative inquiry is really like, well, what do I really want? And where am I being pulled? And where am I being a no when I want to be a yes to something? And act, but it takes listening, because what you could have done is been like, but I'm on my computer. This is where I take calls. Just like, this is, well, that's nice out there, or that'll require me moving, or it's a little cold, like any number of like pretty often seemingly very practical reasons why not to say yes to where we're pulled. And just that permission to allow ourselves to be in the listening, allow ourselves to be delighted. I mean, that's part of what I heard in the, like, look for what's different and new and actually celebrate it, and let yourself be delighted. Like, you could look out to the snow and be like, that's cool. Or you could look at it and be like, oh my God, that is so beautiful. This life is so beautiful. I'm so thankful to live in Colorado. I'm so grateful that the sun is shining and there's snow dance at the same time. Like, I can't believe God created so much beauty for me to experience. Like, you could like go into it like that. Or you could be like, oh, that's cool. It's a different quality of presence. And if you all want peace and power, I'm telling you, let yourself be in wonder, let yourself be in delight. Like, don't just get flowers, like do what I did, get your flowers. And like, mind you, these come from a local garden, so they're all organically grown and no weird, like, no weird chemicals in the flowers. So I was like rubbing my face on these flowers and smelling them. And I was like laughing for a moment. You can choose to be in relationship to life like that, and something that I think hasn't been said that's really important is to be with yourself like that. So this morning, Michael, you're looking out these snow flurries that are magical, but what if every morning, I mean, this is an ultimate practice. What if every morning when you looked in the mirror, you looked with curiosity and delight and recognition of your beauty and of how magical you are and of how this day can be anything you decide, and that there's miracles and goodness coming in this day that you couldn't have planned for? What if? And the thing is, the external environment, our consciousness on the external environment helps build that. Right. So as you see beauty outside of yourself, it becomes easier to see it inside, just as you see beauty inside, it becomes easier to see it outside. The law of correspondence. So if it's easier for you to first see it in your cat or your dog or your flowers or the ocean, bring it alive more. And as you do that, you will start to recognize that you are not separate from any of that. And if you think that that's perfect, then put it back and say, well, I am that. That is me. Yeah. I love you, Michael. Thank you. One more, if anyone would like to.
I've been doing a new one lately called Wild Writing. And it starts with a poem. Like, I like to hear the poem read out loud. And then, I'll pick maybe 2 sentence fragments as a point of departure and set a timer for 15 minutes and just keep coming back to that 1 or 2 sentences and just really let my mind like kind of get out of the way. It's my way of getting to a level deeper than my mind, and just keep writing for that 15 minutes. And when I get lost, just keep coming back to one of those points of departure. And it is wild, like what comes out. It feels far less cognitive than a typical journaling session.
I love that idea. So you choose just any poem, and then you keep 2 of the sentences as the lead prompt to keep responding to.
Yeah, there's just great stuff.
Give us an example so everyone can really see how I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, like, so yesterday, this poem was the sentence fragments were, our mouths were watering for change. It's all going by too fast. We were all trying to get somewhere. And this ellipses of waiting. It's like, oh my God, like
Rich.
you know, like 15 minutes in that, you know.
Yeah. Who's that poet?
That is Maya Stein, and the poem is Between Seasons.
I want to read that poem. Will you actually read it? Do you have the full poem right here?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm making note because those few lines are like so deep and juicy.
Yeah. It's a cool thing that I learned from a woman named Lori Wagner, and you can go sign up for some of her different offerings online. She's got mini things. She's got a mini 3-day one for free, and then longer things you can go do with her, or you can just do it on your own too.
Thank you for that. Dawn asked, what are some questions? And I think that this is a great way to just get out of your normal mode of operating and your normal line of questioning and thinking, and just give a different part of you an opportunity to express. Because even in our meditation or our writing, we can still have this like hold on ourselves, like that's very limited. And so the practice of exploring different aspects of yourself through different modalities, both through writing and writing in different ways, but also through using your voice, through moving in new and creative ways, through expressive arts. I love to get these pastels and big papers or watercolors. I'm not trying to make anything. I do it literally just to clear my mind or express something that is that I feel like I can't find words to. So we have all these different modalities of expression, and I encourage everybody to play more in them. So thank you so much, Corey. I've never tried that in particular. I've given myself writing stems, but this is such a fun way to also bring in poetry, because what a sweet way. Sometimes I write poetry, more like stream of consciousness, and I won't consider myself a poet, but it's amazing what happens when you allow yourself to just be a vessel, just like Margaret with her songs, and just be used, and both do it to like express and clear and, just like get something out. And also sometimes because you get used to make beautiful art that moves you and maybe even wants to be shared if you're just available, but you have to like sit and be available and spacious for that to even be possible, right? I love that you're a poet, Brittany. Okay, thank you, Corey. And so one practice I do all the time is I open my voice, not to try to sing a song, because as soon as I try to do that, I get all in my head about whether I know words or if I'm good at it. If a song is on, I'm singing along all the time. But when I'm not singing along to a song, I have been practicing just opening my throat, my voice, and just making all kinds of sounds and channeling sounds. Honestly, most of the time when I start to bring words to it, I have this weird this will be different for everyone, but I'm just being honest, like my brain can start to short circuit and stop the flow, because now I'm wanting it to sound good or be good or make sense. Now, sometimes I can bring the words in and freestyle flow and like let it go. But more often I'm just practicing opening my voice to let like energy come through and out of my body, to allow for it to be beyond the mind and just express. And sometimes I sound like an opera singer. Like I'm like in all interesting frequencies. I'll do what is called like light language, where I'm just channeling without trying to do anything. And so play, everybody, with the intention of knowing yourself. Okay, Michael, you asked about this dance between, kind of this like conscious creating and moving energy forward intentionally and intending versus like surrender and emergence. And maybe we can talk a little more about it tomorrow. But one thing that I'll say is that the more that you give yourself space to cultivate your inner world and your connection, the less questions you have about why or how to do things, or whether you're in alignment, because it's like your life starts to unfold in alignment. But alignment has to be cultivated and attuned to and deepened. And sometimes we move away from it, and that's fine. It's part of it. So that also we can find a new attunement and a new octave of what alignment is, the level of alignment's available in this cycle of life. Okay, so there can often be a moving away from center, let's call it. Balance is not about the same all the time. Absolutely not. I move towards harmony, not balance, because balance makes me think that it's like same. It's like work-life balance. Like, what does that mean? No, I'm looking for harmony. And sometimes what is harmonic in my life is like, I am like I just want to create. I just want to serve. I just want to birth. I just want to write. I just want to like grow. And then sometimes harmony is, I don't want to be on my computer for 2 weeks. And overall it's harmonic. But if you are in this like intensity because you're not actually in harmony day to day, then overall you're not going to be in harmony, because you're going to lead to burnout, or you're going to have these like, you're going to feel this. If you disconnect every day, if you're constantly disconnected, then you're going to find yourself in a not great place, feeling like you moved really far from center. And then you can always get back. You always come back, always. But the farther you go, the harder the return sometimes. So if you don't deviate as much because you're always returning and you're always building your energy as consciously as possible, then rather than deviating away, you're actually ascending and rising and elevating. And that's a way more fun use of energy rather than having to dig yourself out of a hole. But if you are in some version of a hole, it's okay, because there's always a ladder out. Right? There's always a ladder out. Yeah, octaves. That's why I think like instead of different levels, it's like I'm always wanting to expand into a new octave. And at this new octave, like, how good can it be? What's possible for me at this octave? What I thought was possible at the last one was smaller than what's actually possible at this one. Yeah. So we have just a few minutes left. Why don't we first just shake it out a little bit with a smile on your face, like, oh, make some sounds. I actually want to teach you all something called Brain Booster. What I love about this is that it can build energy in just a quick few minutes, and it's great for your brain if you feel like you've been using your head a lot. Okay, so I'm going to teach it to you all, and then we're going to do it. Hopefully you can see me well enough. So it's a 3 inhales through the nose and 1 exhale out the mouth. Now, the breath is really important. This is a breath exercise more than anything. There's going to be a movement we do with it, but there's a breath. Like, you really want to inhale those 3 breaths through your nose powerfully. And then when you do the exhale, you can also make a sound, huh, but you're exhaling it all out and you're pulling it in your navel as you do it. And it's actually a purifying breath as you do that, the ha sound, and it activates your hara, your Shakti, your power here that lives in your belly. Okay. And if you have back issues, be gentle as you come down. Okay. You can do this exercise faster, or you can do it slower. So be mindful, because we're going to be coming into a forward fold basically. And when you do that, you want to have your butt engaged just a little bit, core engaged just a little bit to protect your back. But beyond just a little bit of engagement, you're mostly relaxing. Like on the down, when we go down, you're just like, imagine you're letting it all go. Okay. So it's like you're bringing new energy in, and then you're just like letting whatever you need to let go of go as you come down. So I'm going to show you a couple times, and then we'll do it slow together, and then we'll speed up. All right. And this is an amazing thing to have. Remember when Mia was talking on, if you were there for Mia, she's like, I remember you when we were on our way to Utah in the gas station, you were doing this. This is what she was talking about, because we had a long drive. So I was waking myself up. This is better than coffee, but if you do drink coffee, the combo is awesome. Okay, so I'm going to show you. Don't try to do it yet. It's going to look like this. Oh, and you're going to need space around you. You'll see what we're going to do, but so you don't hit anything. So watch, and then you'll want to make sure that you have space around you to not hit anything with your arms. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm breathing in 3 times with my arms, and then I'm exhaling as I go down. And again, I'm just letting it all go, but we're also going to bring the HUD in. So first we'll do the arms. You cross, inhale. Inhale out to the side. Inhale up above your head. And then exhale as you come down. Ha. Inhale up, cross the arms, out to the sides. Inhale, up above your head. Inhale, and exhale. Ha. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Ha. Okay, we're gonna go a little faster if you can. So if you can go my pace, go for it. If you need to go slower, of course, go your pace. But the arms are cross in front, out to the side, up above your head, and then down with a hug. All right, so we're gonna go a little faster. Ready? Ha! 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 Strong breath. Ha! 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 Let that hug go on the exhale. Ha! 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 Inhale, reach up. Inhale a little more, reach up. And bust out laughing and shake it out. And jump a little bit, bounce and laugh and shake. And release your shoulders and laugh a little more. Make some weird sounds that make you feel like you're 4. And clap for yourself. Clap, clap, clap. Give yourself a standing ovation for being so awesome. Come on, clap. It's good for your brain. Clap, 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 clap. For yourself. For how great of a job you're doing. A little more, a little bigger smile. Come on. And then a funny sound. Just go for it. Yes, yes, yes. All right. I feel that we should dance to one song. And then, Dawn, I will answer your question around some more potential prompts. But if you are ready to go, you can go ahead. And if you have a few more minutes, let's dance. Yeah, I can see some of you already. All right, let's get a song on with the intention of embodying the energy that you want to imbue your whole day with. So take this moment right now to bring your intention alive for the day. Who do you want to be today? How do you want to feel today? What do you want to be an expression of today in your day? Take a moment, tune in, make your declaration. And even right here in this moment, you can ask, you can tune in for a moment and ask, what's the highest use of my time and energy today? What's the best way I could spend my day? Just take a moment to ask, tune in if you haven't already done that. Ask what your soul wants today. What do I need today? What can I give myself today? Weekends can be for play, but they can also be for taking care of that big thing you've been putting off. They can be for getting organized. They can be for connection. They can be for creation. They can be for whatever is needed. Yes, amazing. Okay, I hope you have your intentions and that you have a sense of what's going to make today awesome, how you can make this a great day. And if you're not clear on your weekend, after this session, take a moment to meditate and tune into what's needed. What do I really want? What would set me up for the best week next week? What would set me up for an amazing April if I do that this weekend? You know? Okay, ready? We're gonna get a song and let's do it.
Captured effortlessly, that's the way it was. Happened so naturally, I did not know it was love. The next thing I felt was you, holding me close. What was I gonna do? I let myself go. And now we're flying through the stars. I hope this night will last forever. Oh, oh, oh. Ain't nobody loves me better. Makes me happy, makes me feel this way. Ain't nobody loves me better than you. I've been waiting for you, it's been so long. I knew just what I would do when I heard your song. You filled my heart with a kiss, you gave me freedom. You knew I could not resist, I needed someone. And now we're flying through the stars. I hope this night will last forever. Oh, oh, oh. Ain't nobody loves me better. Makes me happy, makes me feel this way. Ain't nobody loves me better than you. At first you put your arms around me, then you put your charms around me. We stare into each other's eyes, and what we see is no surprise. Got a feeling most for treasure, and a love so deep we cannot measure. Ain't nobody loves me better. Makes me happy, makes me feel this way. Ain't nobody loves me better than you. Ain't nobody loves me better. Makes me happy, makes me feel this way. Ain't nobody loves me better than you.
So good. It's so good to dance with you all. I don't want to keep going. I love you. I love you. I love you all. Wow, so beautiful. Okay, well, just to honor everyone's time on this beautiful Saturday so that you can go out and have the best day ever, we'll start to wrap this up. Dawn had a question around Sunday rituals, so I will, or not Sunday. I often do them on Sundays. I'm encouraging you to all do it on Sunday since tomorrow's Sunday. Oh, so fun to dance with you all. I love you. I love you. I love you. And oh, so good to be alive. So fun to dance together, right? And to set your intention for the day. So questions I ask myself. I mean, it's really for me about what's present. If I've been in resistance about something, I just start writing about my resistance. Also, I often start without any question. I just write what's literally on my mind. It might start with, I'm tired. It might start with, I don't know what I'm doing today. It might start with, I'm feeling this and this and this, and I don't know why, and I really want this. Like I often just start, if I'm in my journal, stream of consciousness. And usually from that process, something emerges for me to go deeper and inquire around, right? And sometimes I have very specific questions, like, how is this feeling, whatever this is? right? Like I said, sometimes I'll tune into my body. How does my body feel? Does it feel like I need a detox? Does it feel like what I'm eating is working? If I had a body issue this week, like bloating or something, I will tune in, or I'm waking up bloated, I'll tune in and I'll listen and I'll see if I can receive any guidance from my body of what's going on and what it needs. If there's something I've been feeling like I want to do, I will write about it. I'll ask, why do I want to do that? What feels exciting about that? Why do I feel resistance to it? Why wouldn't I do it? Right, like when I said that I was going down this line of inquiry today about having an and life, this and this and this and this and this, I asked in my journal myself, well, why don't I have that right now? And the response was some version of scarcity belief and like a limiting belief. Okay, so then I wrote about that. I'm like, well, what if that's actually not true at all? And then I start to use my imagination about what if actually, like one thing that came up for me is that I love being in experiences, events, containers, retreats, learnings, and have so many invitations coming up. But if I did them all, it's like I would never be working. And so I have this thought that like, basically there's like a limiting thought that I won't have enough, or I can't build my business, or I can't, like, while I'm also outliving my life fully. Now, of course, there's some reality to that, but I was like looking at why I would say no and what's holding me back, and why wouldn't it be a yes to everything that, and then I was inquiring, well, what am I yes to? If I do say no to that, what am I saying yes to? Right. So these are like a line of questioning that I'm in, Dawn. That's like very casual because I'm following what came. I'm following the thread of what's emerging. But some questions I also might ask is, how do I want my week to go? What would make this next season of life really fun? What's my intention for the day? I know you've been doing that. I might ask myself, now sometimes it's in my journal, but the main question I ask myself is, I call in my higher self, and then I ask for something I need guidance on. And I will ask, is this for my higher purpose? When I'm discerning to make a decision about something, where to go, what to invest in, how to spend my time, my money, etc., the ultimate question, Dawn, is this for my higher purpose? That's my main question I'm asking in these sessions. But from that, there might be other threads or things that I have to navigate through to actually hear the true voice. Okay. And the thing is, the more you just sit with yourself and just actually listen and connect and find joy in that, your own ritual and your own process will emerge and reveal itself. And if you start to feel stuck, do something like get some art supplies out. Grab a poem and start responding to a line. Start making sounds with your voice. Start doing some breath work. That's why having those tools in the process, because you will, whether you're writing or meditating, almost all of us will have this moment where it's like our consciousness disconnects, and the natural impulse will be to get up and go do something, or pick up your phone and do something, or distract yourself in some way. But what I'm encouraging with the longer sessions is to allow that ebb and flow, but to pull yourself back in by working with another element of your expression or your somatic being. Okay. And sometimes in those processes too, Dawn, I'm also allowing myself to feel. So like if I'm making a decision on something, I might literally feel, like tune in, okay, let me play out that reality. Let me see it as best I can. Let me feel it. See what happens in my body. Okay, then I'll play out the other reality, see it, feel it. How does it feel in my body? So you can start to play with yourself in that way. Like, how would it feel to say yes to that? How would it feel if I said no to that? Just to inquire with yourself and play. So that's all I'll say with regards to that. And I just feel compelled to share one more thing before we wrap, because we were talking about my water concoction, which is just quickly my current smoothie concoction. just to show you that you can up level everything. Right? Smoothies can be simple, which is also awesome. Sometimes simple is best. But I'm training right now. So I'm like, how do I eat in the morning in a way that digests, doesn't make me tired, and gives me everything I need? So my smoothie currently has cooked amaranth in it. I cook amaranth, which is an ancient grain, and I have some in the fridge, and I just put a couple scoops. So I have that slow burning carb, because fruit goes so fast and turns to sugar so fast in your body that it's not very good sustained. So the amaranth, I have fresh ginger and turmeric in my smoothie. And by the way, I'm making amaranth ahead of time, and I'm skinning and chopping up turmeric and ginger to have in the fridge for a few different smoothies. So I'm not doing it every morning, right? I have in my smoothie moringa and barley grass and spirulina and the dragon herbs blend of greens, which has like 90 different herbs in it. I have a really clean protein. I either use Sun Warrior protein or a goat whey. That's like a pure goat whey. I have Suzandra in my smoothie. I'm putting lemon juice in my smoothie. I'm putting black sesame, tahini for my kidneys, the blacks for your kidneys. I'm putting Siberian pine nuts. I'm putting sprouted pumpkin seeds. I am putting mulberries. I am making Irish moss gel. And I have that ready in my fridge. I put fresh parsley. And then of course some banana and fruits with like raw coconut water or some type of like coconut milk, something like that. But milk, I do milks without any gums in them. I don't buy boxed milk anymore. All that shit is nasty. Your oat milks and they've got preservatives and gums. So I only buy coconut milk that has no guar gum in the cans, or I make my own milk. And that's basically all I do for milks now, because all those gums can create holes in your digestion. It's not great. So anyways, that's just a smoothie recipe. Of course, there's a million ways to make smoothies, but I say that to inspire. It's like, what if you just brought a little more care, like on your salad, put a little bit more sprouts and a little bit more sprouted nuts or sprouted seeds, and like, just like brought everything in your life up an octave. That's what the invitation is. Everything can just be up. You can just keep elevating up an octave, because there's no limit to how good it can be. So we'll end with that. And we have one more session tomorrow morning. Oh, I love you. It's so good to share with you. And tomorrow, since it is Sunday, I'm going to do less talking, and we'll spend maybe half the time in some type of wisdom transmission and about half the time in a practice. Would you guys like that? More soulful, get into some type of practice. But I encourage you to wake up tomorrow morning and do a long ritual with yourself. I woke up at 5. The other thing too is this is going to be way more effective for you if you do it at sunrise. For me, I woke up at 5 a.m. to start my process naturally, so I'm going to sleep early enough. But your ability to listen and actually sit is so much higher in the morning before the fire of the day starts. It's harder to sit still when you're in the fire of the day. It just is. So if you get up when it's still dark, you're going to be much more likely to sit with yourself and listen. Yeah, exactly. So with that, have an amazing day. Feel free to unmute yourself and say anything, but I love you. I adore you. You're fantastic. You're so welcome. Hope you have the most incredible day. Create an incredible day. A terrific day. You're welcome, Margaret.
Thanks.
Thank you
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
Bye.
I'm going to create some good stuff.
Yes. Go do it. I'm just sending you so much good juju, Michael, whatever you're creating today. I know that all you create blesses everybody. So here's to being all of us being a blessing in whatever way we can today. But first and foremost with yourself, make sure you bless yourself today with something good so that your energy is feeling good and you're feeling resource for life, not just for the week ahead, for life. You gotta refill your cup if it's feeling depleted, but also a lot of times our giving refills our cup. So remember that too. It's like you only receive what you give. So have fun. Have fun being in the dance of life. Too blessed to be stressed. Yes, yes. All right. See you tomorrow.
You're amazing, Charlene.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
You came into my life at the right time.
Yeah, tell me what I'm bringing into your life.
I'm about to do something big I've never done before. So you've inspired me with your energy. Like, you are amazing.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate you.
It's really good to be here with you. I've been feeling you in the stream, and so it's really nice to have you here today and get to see you and meet you. And congratulations on stepping into something new, something big where you've never gone before, and just have the fun of seeing who you get to become through the process. You can't fail.
Thank you.
Okay, honey. See you tomorrow. Will you be here tomorrow?
I scheduled this event tomorrow. It's at 9, so I'm gonna come in at 8 with you.
Okay, great.
And leave, and then come back at 10 if that's okay. But you end at 10, right? Tomorrow you end at.
You're in Pacific time?
Yeah.
We'll end at 9:30. So you'll come at 9. Yeah, so you'll get the first almost hour, and that's fine. Just come while you can, and we'll send you off with good energy.
Thank you so much. And also, I'm just so blessed to have come into contact with you. You've entered my life at a very critical time, and I'm gonna hang on to you. I'm not gonna let go.
Yes. Keep a hold of me, please. Will you join us for Revelation for the retreat that's in a couple weeks? The virtual retreat?
I don't know if the timing will work for me, but I'm going to check into it.
Okay, let me give you the link so you can. But if you are resonating with this and you are up to something new and big, that container is going to be even more powerful for you, because it really is a container, right? We're going to be not in as much of a public space, but really in a journey together to go deep. And it's like, who do you need to become truly to birth and steward whatever this big thing is, with it feeling really good and you having the support of the universe, because you're becoming the available person to really do something completely new, and so a lot of this essence is about rebirth, reinvention. And so it's like, you're already clear on what you're stepping into, but this will be an attunement to actually be the space and have the capacity to steward whatever this big change is and whatever else you want to have in your life with more ease and grace and beauty.
That's fantastic. And if I can't do it, I'll ask my daughter to do it. She really needs it.
Do it together. Make it happen. If you guys could do it together, that would be amazing.
I wish I could. Yeah, I will ask her about that. She's going through something right now, but just like the energy you bring, and this is like evidence of how these retreats and these actual get-togethers and connections are a form of embodiment of what you have been intellectualizing, and that's where really the true power exists, isn't it?
It's in the embodiment. Yeah, until you can know something, but until you actually live it, it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. And like, you feel that energy when you're around other people, like even in your Zoom call just now, when people started to speak, it just radiated. Although we're on Zoom, it just radiates this energy throughout the room, which is so big. It's just really special, and it's about connection and humanity and all those good things we want.
Well, that's how powerful we all are. We each have such an impact, and people feel our energy, and that can be a positive ripple of impact or not, depending on who we're being. And we can always be more of our true selves, right? That's the invitation of my work. That's what the revelation retreat is about. It's like, how do we become even more of who we really are and identify as our divine self, and then fully express how life wants to experience life through us as us in this lifetime, without holding back, and living a yes to life, right? And being a blessing and being a lighthouse in the world, and contributing beyond our fears or doubts of our smallness, and like really just always expanding, not out of the need for more because I don't have enough, but out of the like, I want to know what's possible and who I'm here to become, and how I can bless more people, and the joy of that and the peace of that, true purpose. So I felt that, I feel that, and I feel you, even though you didn't come to speak. I'm so happy that you did speak here at the end, so I could feel you.
One thing I have realized just by tuning in this week and being in your presence, because you really have a magic energy, Charlene.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm truly saying that from the bottom of my heart. Your positivity and your delightfulness about life itself, your appetite for life is just contagious. I love it. I just want to be your friend. I want to send you some tea, actually. Can I?
Yes. Are you a fellow tea drinker?
I am. My son, he lived in China, and he got into the tea business. So he did travel to those farms that you talk about, that, people for thousands of years have been growing this stuff. He and his partner went and, visited every farm and chose the one that they wanted their tea to be fermented in and taken from, sourced from. So he's got a lot of good tea. And I would, just as a token of my appreciation to you, I want to, send you some. Is there an address I could send it to?
Yes, I would love that. Here, I can stop the recording and then I'll share it with you.
Stop the recording. And then if you want to put it in the chat, if the chat is still open, I can just give the chat.
Yes, let me put it here. Well, yeah, I'll send it to you privately, just because if someone downloads the chat. I mean, I'm open to get gifts, but let's see. You're so sweet. Thank you so much. I love receiving gifts so much, and I'm full yes, especially tea. What a blessing. Okay, that's me. There you go. That's my address. And then
okay, okay, great. I'm gonna save this chat, but I'm gonna write it down anyway in case I can't find in my computer.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much.
Kaye, is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Kaye?
Kaye. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, he's got a lot of good stuff, and he was very careful about where he sourced it.
Mm-hmm.
They lived, they visited these farms, and they're usually family run. And he was telling me how they don't really, they don't put all that junk in their tea to make it flavorful.
No.
The way they ferment it, the way they process it is really where the flavor comes. Heating, cooling, and just playing with it. So, and it's amazing what different flavors come out of that.
Nature.
So I'm really excited to share this tea with you.
Me too. I will be so delighted to receive it. Thank you for your generosity of spirit. I love gifts. That's going to be my favorite tea. I already know it, because all the other tea I buy for myself, which is one thing, but to actually receive it as a token of, the exchange of energy is so sweet. And that it's from your son. I mean, I love that. And I can tell that you're an amazing mother, the way that you celebrate your kids and want to support them. And so good for you, giving them, celebrating them and giving them opportunity.
Thank you. I thank you for saying that. And, it all arises from just being more in tune with yourself and paying that attention, and all the stuff you've talked about this week. Yeah. It's like you already have it. Like the wealth is already there. You just need to draw from it. Connect to it.
I love that. The wealth, exactly. The wealth is already there. You just need to draw from it. Amen. And with that, here's to a wealthy day, a wealthy weekend. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning to start your day with you.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful rest of your day, Charlene.
Thank you so much. You too, hun. Bye, Susan.
Bye-bye.